Now I'd like to welcome Ms. Iman Al Hasani, Assistant Professor from the Sultan Qaboos University, with her topic on enhancing the open data policy in Oman.
First, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh jamia. Actually, I'm here today to talk about the open data policy in Oman. And we already actually have some initiative, like from National Center and from the Ministry also of the Transportation and Communication. But the policy that we have is not as what we expected as a users. So that's why I'm here today. Okay, so as I said, we are here because this actually like a project or a beginning of a project with a team from Department of Statistics at Sultan Qaboos University. So we are trying to review the open data policy and the data strategy in general in Oman. And I'm here actually on behalf of my team. So first, we need to know the meaning of open. I think all of you are familiar with it, but just to recall here, open that means anyone can freely access. Okay. So that means anyone can freely access the data or the raw materials. We call it because data also define it in different ways, and also it needs to be usable and reused, which is it can be modified by someone or by adding something to it, and also shareable. When it comes to the OGD, which is open government data, then here we have government-related data. And of course, it is open to the public. So once it is open to the public, it needs to satisfy the features of the open terminology. If we go through the journey of open data innovation, then it will start, of course, from collecting data, and then the data going to be processed, going to be explored, studied, and analyzed. And then the innovation actually started when the open and the innovation of the data start when the organizations started to publish the results, publish the data, and make it accessible. And that involved to have we have data preservation here and data reuse, and then someone going to create a new idea from that data, and the research continue. When the research continue, then it will be adding something to that data, the original one, or collecting new information. But although this is the open data innovation journey, but not all institutions actually achieve it. And it is not easy to achieve it. And before we talk about the achievement of open data innovation, we need to know why do we need open data policies. So all countries now having policies and strategies for open data, and that's actually something essential, and we cannot ignore it. That will actually devolve from having chaos operation or data process. And we will have better data governance, and of course we will have better quality service. And the main thing is protecting personal data. Everyone need to be protected, no need to be actually shared to anyone. So our data is rich and contains some sensitive information, so in that case we need to keep it also confidential. That's right for human beings. But at the same time, these, again, it is part of the open data innovation, but it is not easy also to control it. And until now, in some countries, and our country is one of them, although we have some initiative about having some laws and rules related to the private data, but still some of our personal data are used for commercial usage. For Oman open data policies, we are using the fundamental global standard policies, so I don't want to go through it. And beside to that, we use the national data strategy. We do that if anyone having data, open data policies, if any organization or country having that, then we need to have at the end, as a result, some standards, which are transparency, participation, and collaboration. What do we mean by this here? Transparency, we need to be transparent to the user at the end of any project. Transparency will help us to achieve the accountability of the data. And also it will help us to achieve the innovation. And all above that, it will help us to get the trust from the public. Public will not trust us or will not trust the organization results if they are not transparent. Participation, if the data are transparent, then we will have someone who is interested to participate on that data and continue on the circle of open data innovation. And if that's happened, then we will get the collaboration, and that will generate new ideas and make making more values from the data that collected at the origin. So coming to the open data challenges, the first one is the infrastructure, and inside the infrastructure that will lead to accessibility and to the research. So what do we mean here by the infrastructure and accessibility? I will get back to the research later, because too much of our data infrastructure is unreliable, inaccessible, siloed, can only be used if you can afford access. If you check, for example, Omanuna, it is good initiative, we cannot ignore it, we have some open data. If you check the open data portal at the National Center of Statistics and Information, also they have good innovation, I can say also innovation, and also they have good functionality of the data there. But as a user, how can I trust the data provided there? Most of it are results, statistics, with no raw materials. You will say, why do I have to give you the raw materials? We talk about the transparency. Yes, raw materials also, it is not easy to get it because of the privacy of the data governance challenges. That's in all countries. So that's why people think of the data exists is unreliable. Not only that, the data collection. People need to know, how did you collect the data? You need to share the method, how did you collect the data? Otherwise, they will not trust the results that you give it to them. When it comes to the accessibility, most of it are in different formats. Even if they are access format or open formats, but still they are not handy, let us say. Or sometimes when you open something, you will get another link, and then another link. You get nested link until you reach to what you want. And at the end, you might reach it, you might not. Siloed, like each organization, protect their data as it is own, and they don't want to share it with the others. Although, according to the open data strategy or data strategy by the National Center of Statistics and Information, they should actually each institution should provide the center by the actual data. And I think you have seen in many websites in our institutions, they give you an icon of request information. And to request information, it is also not easy. They will give you like a list of, they will give you a form, and from that form you need to fill it, and that's also time consuming. This is not how open data is supposed to be. It needs to be easy to reach, but we are still not at that stage, although we have some good initiative. When it comes to the research, when we talk about data reusable, then that means we need to create a new research problem. We need to have a new project. So here is the research. Research cannot be run by just tabulated data or frequency or statistics. It needs some raw materials. So these are challenges, and this is not just in Oman, even in the countries like UK and US who are actually leading open data at this era. So get back to the open data innovation journey. Let us see where the issues actually. We have the transparency problem occurs from not providing any description about the data collection to your users. And also, how did you process and how this data analyzed? So here, there will come some trust and reliability issue related to the transparency. When it comes to the data publishing access and data reuse, we have some governance problem here related to the privacy. Results explain ability. When it comes to analysis, we all talk about AI, machine learning, OIT, but not all public actually can understand these terminologies, or also they don't know how to interpret that result. So how can they trust you if you're just giving them just the final results? When it comes to data preservation, and here is the infrastructure problem, where do you store your raw data? And sometimes you archive it, and if you think of it, there is no data repository or weak or poor data repository. There is no identifier. For the data to be open, it needs to be findable easily. To be findable easily, that means it needs a reference. The reference that we have until now, it is mainly like URL or we have it like it is related to the owner, which one. But I cannot identify it by a unique access. So the data repository identifier is lacking here, and also data management. When it comes to the creativity from, because if you read about open data, even from higher education or in national center or in any definition, when they say it is shareable, that means they need to have creative projects from that data from the public. But how can they get it actually? This is again related to the transparency. It is not transparent, then it will not be accountable by the public. So how can we improve that? Just, you might say, why you are saying that about our open data? I'm from this country and I care about our open data. And also I appreciate all the work done by all people who are working in this field. But I need better data infrastructure. If I get back to the data strategy from the National Center, I tried just to do the word cloud in a very quick time to see what are, sorry, it is in Arabic here, just to see where the open is here at the strategy. It is just data policies or data strategy, sorry. And if you see the words, the bold ones, they are all related to central institution. So that means we have restricted data management system. It is not open, it is not general, it is not controlled mainly by the center. And when it comes to also saying jiha, mani, sanf, so this is mainly jiha and mani, that means there is no clear linked governed data to the users. It might exist, but still we need more work to show it to the users. There is also no identifiable open data repositories. When we talk always about open data, then we relate it to open sources. If we look to the open sources, they have some data that is accessible, and it comes with the program, like in R, in Python. There are some data that can be taught to students. For us, we don't have it. There is no contribution, not just from our country, from the Middle East in general. Why we don't have that? Because to create data packages to be used in these open sources, then it needs to be identified well, cited well, to be shared and used in teaching. You want people to be data scientists, or you want better teaching quality or better education, then people need to be linked to their local data. We should not teach them data just from US. We should not just train them data from UK or US. We need some local data to be used in education and it to be linked with the open free sources. And for the accessibility also, when we said about transparency, accountability gap here, again, this is from the data strategy and from the open government data policies. The open is just on that other cloud at the left, but it is smaller than the data itself. Again, see at the strategy, talab, request. It is open. Why shall I request it? I shall request it if I ask for very detailed. So this is actually about some issues related to the data. When it comes to the research, let us see there is no cost-benefit analysis. I couldn't find any cost-benefit of the existing data. And there is no also initiative from any institution to see if people are actually using their data that they published, and it might there, but it is not recorded. So for me to search about the cost-benefit analysis of Oman open data, I cannot see it. It might be there. Maybe someone did it, but it is not published. Transparency, accountability gap, that's again because of people cannot trust and cannot rely on what exists. There is no open research principle policy. All what we have data strategy and we have open data policy. So what we recommend here, to maximize value from data, we need data infrastructure to be high quality. Why we are talking about high quality? Because people usually, when they talk about open data, they care more about protecting the transparency of the data rather than improving the quality of the data and make it shareable. So, of course, we need it to be high quality and as open as possible, but without affecting the data protection of people or the national security, or also the business model. At the end, commercial benefits or commercial confidentiality is important. Not any private institution will share their raw data, but there are some techniques can help them to share some of their raw data, and it can be rich for research and for analysis. So, how can we do that? We need open data management system. So far, we have data management system, but we don't have it for open data management system. No repositories, no identifiers, trust problems, and reliability problems. Technology growing so fast, so the skills need to be in line also with the improvement of the technology. Scientific data methods should not be ignored when it comes to sharing data. People are afraid from sharing their data, they thought, or the organization, they thought, or even when we sometimes request the data, they say, oh, this is containing personal data, should not be. Personal data can be actually also treated and can be shared, but without actually sharing the actual personal information. It can be replaced by an identifier, for example. That column can be removed completely. It can be replaced by something else. All these come with the scientific data method. For example, here, when it comes to census data is the most data that contains information about people. There are a lot of personal information there. And also countries actually spend a lot of money on collecting census data. For us at the end, we provide just by some statistics and some tabulated data. That's great, but we can do more from census data. We can create more values from census data. We can understand the infrastructure of the economy, of the social life of people in the country. So all these is not, for us, it is still protected. It is not shareable. But in US, UK, if I just write census, I will get list of data. For example, from US data gather, if I just write census, I will get it in a very organized format. And if you see the data available, the number is very huge here. But if I write that in Oman, I don't want to show it here, but you can do it by yourself and see. It will give you a link to the National Center, and from the National Center you will get just the publishing article or book. We don't want the data just to be statistics or statements. We need it to be in our raw materials. Open data innovation involves continuous adjustment. Everything depends on the technologies now. So technology is moving, growing fast, then also the policies need to be adjusted. We should not have just a policy for 5 years or for 10 years. So it needs to be reviewed every time. The projects need to be recorded. People need to understand what is going on. That's why now we have, for example, if you would like to check this Cambridge code, they have data and policy, where people, companies, organizations, they do some project and they see how the policy either restrict the movement of the project or actually create a new policy need to be added to the current one. So it is a continuous adjustment and it needs some adjustment here. When it comes to the research, there is FAIR principle, which is the data need to be findable. How to be findable? It needs identifier. It needs to be accessible without requesting. It needs to be interoperable here, and it needs to be reusable. These principles were actually done by researchers, and if you are interested, it is published actually in 2015, and people say that, and this is again related to the cost-benefit analysis. There are a lot of funds done for research, but after publishing the results, the things is dead. The data need to be getting from that researcher and added to a repository. If someone would like to do the same project, they should not start from the beginning and request fund and collect data. They should start from once that person finished. But what is happening here, we don't have it. People get actually in medicine, in economy, we spend a lot of money in funding some research project, but at the end, we don't use the data. The data is archived somewhere, and just we share the results with the people, and then it stopped. So that's for the FAIR principle. I would like just to acknowledge my team, Afra Al-Mane, Dr. Ronald, and Dr. Batul Al-Marzouk from Saudi Arabia, and the Turing Way from the Turing Institution. Thank you very much.
بس بغيت استفسر عن البيانات المفتوحة. هل في عمان عندنا يعني ايش المقياس العالمي اللي وصلت فيه سلطنة عمان حاليا في البيانات المفتوحة؟ إذا كان عندك علم يعني بهذا الشيء.
شكرا على سؤالك. أعتقد في عماننا في رابط لعمان ديتا I'm not sure about it, but I think it is Oman Open Data called OODS. They wrote an article, because I haven't checked actually the rank. We have good initiative, but according to the biometric, I think, rank or criteria, that's done maybe 10 years ago or even before. The situation of open data in Oman, they rank it as the lowest among the GCC. So I don't know actually the criteria they used, but for me, I'm comparing the whole Middle East because we work actually on open science, not just open data. So overall, open materials, whatever it is, data or science, it is still in the Middle East, the infrastructure of it is a bit poor. And there are some initiatives, but it needs more fund, it needs more attention from the government. We are moving at the right direction now, but we need more efforts towards this to cope with the other countries like UK and US. So I cannot answer it really, like say what is the current rank of Oman, but I would expect the ranking of it will be better in the future, inshallah.
شكرا دكتور إيمان.
Actually, suppose if you are having the data, whatever you are telling as an image or in case of the recording, whatever it may be, what is the steps we are supposed to do? We are from university or from a colleges, we are doing some projects and we have enough data with us. What is the next step we have to do? Do we have any websites or the guidelines so that if you can give, we can go on with whatever you are telling and we can have it as a repository like, and as you told, it will be good for other researchers also. So what is the next step if you are having the data with us? We have to follow the Oman policies also. Can you please guide us in this case?
That's why I'm telling there is no open research policy in the country. But if you are the owner of the data, why people actually, or researchers, they afraid to share? Because first, they afraid about the copyright, they afraid about the license. So there is no open research policies yet in our country. But if you own the data, you know the source of it, you have the license of that data, you have the reference, that's what I called here, then if you are working with some open sources, for example, you can link it with, for example, GitHub. And there are also some research tools that promote the research. So for example, you can add DOI, digital identifier for your data in GitHub. You can upload it also, upload your work to Zenodo. So there are some academic research tools that promote the scientific research. So once you know the copyright of the data, then you can share it through, for example, GitHub is the easiest way where people can access it. And also you can add your license there, you can add the DOI there. So if anyone use your data, they're going to acknowledge you and they're going to use the DOI that you provided them. So you're going to be cited as well. That's what I can say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Iman, for your time.